All right. Hi, everyone. I am Jess McLean. I am the Manager of Digital Advocacy for Oceana. I've been with Oceana for about 2 years next month, which is super exciting. This is my first real job in the nonprofit space, and it's been a wild learning experience. Things I've been learning is that there's a lot of people that are like advocacy based and then fundraising based. And we are a small team of 4, and we do everything. So there's so much overlap, and there's the argument and the fight of trying to find the priority of, do we fundraise or do we do advocacy things? So raise your hand if you can relate to this at all. So this was something that we experienced where we continuously have our goals. We are very action-based at Oceana, and so every year we have set goals for the digital team to meet, for the Marcom team to meet, campaigns, so on and so forth. And we found that 2022 wasn't a really great year for nonprofits. There was the cost of living crisis, inflation hit like a 40-year high. People were returning to office, so there was less disposable income that they had. There's Ukraine, which is still going on. And then there was the fact that environmental nonprofits and environment remained one of the top 5 most talked about issues in the world, but environment as a priority dropped substantially. So people were more concerned with things like human rights or healthcare or cost of living, more so than saving the environment. So we got to July, and one of our biggest campaigns is plastics, and we wanted to do a whole plastic-free July campaign. However, by July, we were way off track for all of our goals. We were not hitting anywhere near actions, fundraising, anything. So it became kind of a everything but the kitchen sink situation. We decided that we were gonna try to throw everything into this campaign and see what would come out of it. So we did a featured collection on our store. We did a series of emails that were talking about plastics in a way that we hadn't really talked about plastics before. Our call to action was get involved instead of donate or take action. We did kind of some myth busting, and then we did a multi-action page. So the multi-action page was, instead of directing them to a donate or take action page, it was pick your player. So we had just a static single column page that was, you can donate here, you can take action here, you can shop our store here. And then for the last 3 days of the month, we did a very focused fundraising campaign where we had an in-kind donation from one of our corporate partners. And if you donated a certain amount, you could get the bag. So there were, what is the next slide? So there were some really cool things that happened with this and some limitations, as there always is. The pros were that it touched and contributed to all of our goals, which was really exciting. We were able to expand our action interest to a global scale. So with this campaign, we decided that we were going to take the approach of creating a global plastics action that was correlated with the UN Plastics Treaty, which had never been done at Oceana before, because it's not really something we touch on. And then we were able to explore a ton of different things, like the call to action, using get involved instead of a focused one, playing around with content, doing some myth busting and getting into the nitty gritty of things, playing around with page types, like incorporating that multi-action page. And it was awesome. It did great. We'll see the results here in a second. It also had its limitations. So using that multi-action page, we were driving people from everywhere to this page, such as email, social media, our website, so on and so forth. when you click on one of the options from the multi-action page, we lost that tracking. So instead of it, essentially we weren't able to see if people came from social media and then to the multi-action page and then to wherever they went. And then on top of that, we were testing so many different elements that we weren't sure which one was the one. But in terms of results, we saw a 43.47% increase in donors. We saw a 9.35% increase in donations, an 804.97% increase in actions, and an infinite increase in store results. So with all that, the multi-action page was great. Giving people options was great. It showed that it was working in some capacity. So what it's done for us now is, instead of using that multi-action page, we've taken the approach of transforming that into what I would call passive with a punch. So we did this for our Earth Month/Earth Day campaign this year. And what we did was we had a global action for the month that we pushed variously throughout the month, so 3-4 times. And once you took action on this climate advocacy page, it redirected you to a Earth Month donation form. That was running all month long. It's the page that we used on our advertising, for our emails, on this advocacy page. It was great. Then what we did also was we created a special landing page on our store and had Earth Month featured items, so sustainable things. We also incorporated acquisition, which is something that we hadn't done previously. So we did a whole Earth Month acquisition campaign where if you signed up or you donated or took action, you got this cute little sticker on the right-hand corner. And so we then did the approach of advocacy kind of throughout the month, hit them hard on Earth Day with the fundraising. So taking the approach of passive all month long and then having a really focused time frame for fundraising. And utilizing that format, we saw an overall conversion increase of 2,193%, and a 25.5% in amount raised year over year for Earth Day, which was so exciting. So that might be it, yeah. So what this all comes down to is that we had strictly been focused on running very focused, individualized campaigns, whether it be advocacy, fundraising, a store campaign, so on. And being put in a position where we were frantic about meeting our goals, we tried something completely out of the box that was just a little bit too convoluted. And so then we took a step back after that campaign and decided to take a second look at what worked, what didn't, and how can we better track things in the future to see what worked and what didn't. And that is that. So, thank you.
All right, so we're going to get started here with some questions for the audience. If you weren't with us yesterday or you've forgotten, we use Slido for Q&A, so you can scan the QR code that you're seeing on your screen or up here. That'll launch it. Also, if you're in the app, there's a Slido button right in the middle. You can just press the Slido button in the middle of the Engaging Networks Events app. If that doesn't work for whatever reason, just hit the little refresh button in the top right-hand corner of the app, and that'll send it. So you should be all good from there. All right, so first question coming in. One of the things that I would notice is that you took a across-the-board approach when it came to advocacy, fundraising, engagement, e-commerce. Mm-hmm. Where does that level of integration at Oceana come from? You'll find a lot of charities, I think, struggle and are very siloed in that approach, and I think Oceana is a good example of one that has worked to beat down a lot of those barriers over the years.
Yeah, so, I mean, I would say that it's just from one, the knowledge of that, like, we do have all these goals that are kind of intertwined. And so, and kind of just taking the approach of like brainstorming how we can break down those barriers. I know that when I first started at Oceana, I will say I was very siloed. I was a digital marketing specialist and my only job was email. But it was all email. So it was writing all the fundraising emails, all the advocacy emails, and then building them and sending them. And my counterpart, she was responsible for pages. So we were very siloed at some point in that. And it just wasn't working. It wasn't sustainable in the sense of if I'm in London, who's building emails? And if my counterpart is out of the office, who's building pages? And it just wasn't sustainable in that sense. And so we started breaking down the barriers within our team first. And then with the creation of my new role, I made it a point to meet with all of our campaign directors at the beginning of the year and told them point blank, your goals are my goals and my goals are your goals. So let's find a way to work better together. And having those open conversations and really setting a standard of, I'm going to be as transparent as possible with you, and I kind of expect the same, has really worked for our team and our organization.
So it seems like you have both an alignment on, KPIs and measurables, but you also have a cultural alignment at Oceana across the board. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely.
And are you feeling that? So it sounds like this was more of a bottom-up movement to be like, well, I just need some support, so I'm going to work with the person next to me.
Yeah.
So then what did you do to kind of get the top-down support that you're going to need to make that sustainable?
So interestingly, in the 2 years that I've been at Oceana, we've had 3 different VPs over our department. And what it really came down to was we had our original VP and he left, and then we were kind of thrown into a group that didn't really make sense. And so then they created an actual position, which then led to the combining of 2 teams, my team and another one. And he kind of was like, our new VP, he had gone from director of comms into this role. And so he had been used to working with us in a different capacity. And I think he just started to kind of see it previously. And so when he moved into this role, he was on board and was like, this is amazing. And so now he's a huge component of collaboration across the entire organization. And now it's let's talk with everyone, let's collab with everyone, because we've seen how it works within our team, so let's just do it everywhere.
And is that just for the US office, or is that do you have that same relationship with the Canadian office, with the other international offices? How do you work there with those different affiliates globally?
We're getting there.
Yes.
It's a work in progress. So it started off being very, country offices are siloed. They have their own goals. They have their own teams. They're doing their own thing. And one of the biggest collaboration pieces with them was we created new email templates last year. And the old ones just were not working, but all of the country offices were using them. And so I was like, can I share this with them to see if they'll use it? I've made it super easy. I'll even build the emails for them if they want to use it, but don't know how to build them. And everyone jumped on board immediately. They were like, these are beautiful. They're so clean. We want. So that kind of got them starting to get on board. And then we started working on our account hub migration this year, which has been a lot of collaboration with the country offices. And then with, taking that next step of, okay, we have HQ collaboration happening, let's start branching out. So we actually just did, for June, we're doing a 30 by 30 action, and it's global. And so we've just shared it with all of our country offices, and we've got 2 that have signed on to share it with their people. And it's mostly just taking that initiative to be like, hey, do you want to do this? Would this be interesting to you? And they go from there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people when you're resource constrained, if someone is doing something awesome, they'll probably do it if you share it with them, is what I've found. Working, we work in a global, scenario at Engaging Networks, right? And we do a lot of sharing there. But, I see that with a lot of we're seeing more and more collaboration happening. We're seeing, Oxfam do it globally, PETA do it globally, Oceana do it globally, right? A lot of organizations that touch in multiple places or have affiliates that kind of just used to kind of hang out in the wind. And it's like, oh, right, like if we kind of did some learning from each other, we could probably benefit in a lot because, we all don't need to, 15 of us don't need to create 15 email templates because they're probably 89% of it is probably similar across the board.
Right. And I think another big thing with the collaboration piece is our team has seen, our VP especially has seen how much we are able to collaborate and so successfully. And he sees the results, right? Like he looks at these reports and he's like, this is amazing. What can we do next? And it's really opened the door for like letting us, do you mind if I go back 2 slides?
No, not at all. Yeah, either one works.
So this bottom left-hand image, incoming call from Earth, we would have never been able to do that 2 years ago. It's way too risky.
The image, you mean?
The image,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's a little in your face.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And
yeah.
it's a little gloom and doom, and we would never have been able to pull that off 2 years ago, but seeing the level of collaboration between departments and teams and seeing the success of taking that like little step towards innovation and collaboration, then opened the door to do something really out of the box like that.
Right, it gives you the security to push a bit more when you know that this team's on board and this team's on board, so you're not just out there being like the digital team trying to do weird things. It's like, oh no, all of these people are in alignment that this is the direction we want to push something here and be a bit more radical.
Yeah.
So we had a question come in. Could you speak more about the type of content you created to drive advocacy? Was this purely email? And how did this link up to the donation ask on Earth Day?
Yeah, so so plastic-free July content or Earth Day content?
I think either's fine, but they were talking about Earth Day content, I think.
Okay, so with Earth Day content, we started off and so there were like 3 main components to like the email standpoint. The first was we do a monthly newsletter, and at the bottom of each monthly newsletter, there's like a get involved section where we have a donate, shop the store, and an action. And this is really standard every month, and we just swap out whatever we want to feature. And so we changed that from Get Involved to Celebrate Earth Month with Oceana and made all of those 3 components climate-based. So the donate, instead of it being a standard donate, was the Earth Month form. Shop the Store was our Earth Month collection, and the action was climate. Then we did a handful of advocacy emails pushing people to our new global climate action, and that was kind of like, the content was, climate change is here, it's happening, it's affecting all of us. Here are 3 ways that it's affecting all of us, and if we don't do something right now, shit's gonna get bad. And so then it was talking about how like ocean solutions are climate solutions, and these are some of the ocean solutions that we can work towards. Act now. And then once they took action, it redirected them to that Earth Month campaign for donations.
Leverage something that is already in the zeitgeist to then push your underlying message that amplifies that.
Yes.
Right. Last question here. What was the fundraising call to action during the month of July again?
So the last 3 days, the fundraising call to action was donate. And then for the rest of the month, it was get involved, because it was directing them to that multi-action page, which once they got to the multi-action page, the call to action for fundraising was donate. So.
All right, thank you so much, Jessica.